A very warm welcome to my community. I'm Sherwood McCaskey as always. I'm pleased that you have joined us. Happy 2023. My community has entered its fourth year and we begin on a thankful note. Every week we enter a community and provide Barbadians the opportunity to share their rich history and heritage. All of this is made possible through the generous support of Sir David Seath of R.L. Seath and Company Limited. Sir David, we thank you for acknowledging the important role that an understanding of the social history of the nation could play in its development. Now on to this week's presentation. No one would deny the transformative role of the credit union movement in Barbados and how the lives of thousands were lifted from the underprivileged class and made shareholders in emerging financial institutions. The formation of these was a novelty in Barbados. Oh yes, these were community-based institutions that served the people. It is now perhaps fortuitous that we should start this year by focusing on how a community was transformed through the work of a community-based financial institution. Everton Browne was one of the founding fathers of the 9th Credit Union in Barbados, the St. Mark's Cooperative Credit Union. And yes, it transformed the lives of the people in that community. Mr. Browne places the situation in perspective. How was the money of the residents being invested or saved prior to the establishment of the credit union, Mr. Browne?
Before the credit union started, people had no money to put nowhere. Even when the credit union started, there wasn't a lot of money, you know? And that is where the people, we didn't have a lot of money to play with. So there wasn't any money to put anywhere. I don't know if some people might keep it on the bed head or something, but there wasn't any money to put anywhere. I said I was a teacher at one time, and then I heard at the class one of the credit union officers talking about credit union, and I thought it was impressive, and I introduced it to my old Scholars Association. It began in the old Scholars Association, really. It was born in there, so. And that is how the credit union was formed. That is when the credit union was formed. And we were able to, in those days, the credit union meant education. That's what we did, not like now. Everybody in the credit union movement knew everybody else in the whole credit union movement. And we used to call each one of us brother this and brother that and brother the other. That's the kind of stance that we took. But as I said, the emphasis was on educating people how to spend money and care money. That's what it was all about. And it's very relevant. As I said, there wasn't a lot of money when I started credit union. I think I was getting, as a salary, $27.20 a month. So how could I save something out of that?
I'm sure you could, Dad.
I could?
Yes. Oh. Tell me how you saved some here with that.
I didn't save anything particularly, but I kept myself alive. And as I said, we educated people in the credit union how to spend money. That is interesting. I'd like to give you like 2 instances in the credit union. We had a, I forget that. We had a committee called the credit committee, which was more or less involved in exploring when people attempt to make loans what they wanted to make it for. So we would go out and see what the fellow was borrowing the money for, you know. And we two instances I would like to tell you. There was one fellow who wanted to buy a bicycle, and we would go and look after that bicycle. I myself went to look at the bicycle and the other fellow. and we thought the bicycle wasn't too good. So we recommended to him that we would lend him enough money to buy a bicycle. He said it was his money, he wanted back his money, and we gave him back his money. But we offered to buy a new bicycle for him. We gave him back his money. And he went and bought the same bicycle with the money. Came down Coach Hill with it. And the brakes won't hold, and he went right over Coach Hill and ended up in the next village in Welsh. And then from there on, it was hospital. That's the kind of thing that he died just a couple of weeks ago. From there, we had another fellow wanted to buy a donkey, and the donkey was blind in one eye too. He eventually bought the donkey. We didn't make bad friends out of that. He eventually bought the donkey, but he had two, so they put the two of them in, and one would pull and the other one would drag on. That's how, as I said, it was education. Education. We wanted to tell you what to do in money. If you wanted to borrow money for a house, we went and looked and see what the house was like before we lent you the money to buy that house. That is how we behave in our credit union movement.
So do you remember the exact year it was started?
The credit union was started around, not exactly, but just previous to, about 66, about around that time it was started.
So where did you meet St. Mark's School?
Yes. As I said, in a sense, it was an offshoot from the Old Scholars Association who met there. And many of the members of that Old Scholars Association became members of the credit union.
Could you give me the names of some of these members and some of the people who were involved in the educational program?
I remember Bertie Clark. I remember the brother boy, Keith Rudder, Ralph Butcher, Lloyd Wood, and those kind of fellas. So those are the fellas involved in the credit. In its original formation. Okay. But people came after and joined on and so on, and we had all kind of people around.
So tell me something, when you joined up the credit union, you wanted to, I'm thinking of a meeting term, you wanted to save this money. Mm-hmm. It was to the school, you went, pay the money there, deposit the money, and they give you a little slip or book or something. How was it done?
We had a book, like a bank book. I had a book like a credit book, I think. Credit union, and what we never encouraged people to draw off money. In fact, they couldn't. The credit union is supposed to be, you put money in shares. And when you want to buy anything, you do not take off your shares. You borrow from the credit union at a lower rate of interest. As a matter of fact, the law at that time allowed it not to charge more than 6%. The market value around the place was about 12%. But you would get it at 6%. In other words, cheaper. And at the end of the year, when we have an energy and then we made any profit, we give it back to the members in dividend on the share. That's how it was done in that day.
Prior to the establishment of the credit union, the financial institutions known to most community members were the commercial banks. And there is where a number of community members deposited what little money they had. The establishment of the credit union was a novelty. How receptive were community members to this, Mr. Browne? How was the credit union viewed?
With suspicion. At first, you know, black people are not supposed to be honest. So that's the attitude of them. These fellas are going to carry away money. But after the time, it settled down. Because they didn't miss the money. And after the time, it settled down. And they were very happy about it. As I tell, after we formed the credit union, I think I told you before now that I then was invited to be a member of the cooperative department staff.
Tell me about that. Huh?
I told you about that last time.
I don't remember. Tell me now. Tell me again. I don't remember.
After we formed this credit union at St. Mark's, it was so good. It was going so good And they were so impressed by how we behaved that the registrar of cooperatives came up and asked me if I would be inclined to join the staff of the cooperative movement. And I joined the staff. I was a teacher at that time. So I was seconded from there to the staff of the thing. And then went around forming credit unions.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, we formed nearly all the credit. I was involved in the formation of many credit unions in Barbados. When I joined the thing, they had about 7 credit unions in Barbados. And then we go around and we encourage people all over the place in the credit union movement so that they can borrow that money. Then after I became there, I was sent, when I became a member of the staff, I was sent to Canada on a scholarship to study the credit union and cooperative movement. When I got there, it was more, to my mind, community development, and I was really impressed by the community development aspect of it. See? And when I came back, then my push-off was on cooperative development, even more than the credit union itself. That kept going, but we used that as a spin-off in the village to get other things done. The setting has to be understood. For that time, Barbados was really a cane agriculture society. Everything was about cane. Everybody was about canes. And I mean everybody. When the cane industry was moving, nothing else happened. People who were working elsewhere left, whether you were a teacher, carpenter, mason, and so on, left and joined the cane industry. You either went and worked in a factory, or you went and cut some canes or do something. But I got involved in cane. Money was flowing in that time as far as canes are concerned. So everything was about canes. So our concern, and we try to accommodate the cane industry. And our credit union encouraged and assisted in the formation of an agricultural marketing society. We facilitated that to the extent that we bought our own truck so that we could draw each other's cane. And as a cooperative, sometimes we help one another cutting canes for free and so on. But that, as I said, it was a cane industry environment. In my own life, we reaped as much as 202,000 tons of cane 1 year. It's hard to get 7,000 tons now. But in my own lifetime, 1 year we had 200, that's the record, 200, but I was alive, 202,000 cane. So then our credit unions try to encourage development of those people in the cane industry and form an agricultural marketing society. As I said just now, we bought our own truck to facilitate the freightage of canes. And that's what we did. As I said, when the cane industry was on, St. Philip, there were lots of cane factories. Now they're playing dirty cuckoo with the cane industry. But at that time, even St. Philip had about 6 factories. Yes, Trousers, Foursquare, Carrington, Moncrief, another one too, Moncrief, and then Harrow. Most around doing sugar and the other making syrup. But they were scattered all over the place. And that we got our credit union put a focus on that, on the cane industry. And we were ably assisted by the time at Plantation Limited. And we made an arrangement with Plantation Limited to buy manure from them in bulk. So we were able to get the manure, and they would wait on us till we reap our canes to pay them back for it. And we distributed the manure to our members so that they were able to propagate proper growing canes. That's what we do with it. But as I said, you have the setting has to you have to understand what the sugar industry was to know how important the development of the sugar industry was to itself and to the cooperative movement. It was difficult. It was difficult sometimes, as I said, to get people to start up joining. But then, from one to one, it keeps spreading and so on. They didn't miss much of the money, or none really. And we went around St. Philip and St. John. St. Philip, the north part of St. Philip, Marleybale, Blaisdell, College, Savannah, St. John, part of St. John was thing. And we were doing very well as far as the sugar industry was concerned. And the director of cooperative was a man named G.A. Ramsey. He was a preacher. He was very good as a preacher. So we would carry on, though he was the boss, we would tell him where we want to focus on. And we wanted at one time to see whether we could even buy a second truck. I remember going up to St. John's School because we were, apart from helping the members with canes, we would draw canes for non-members. We charged them a little more. And we went up to St. John. I remember, like now, we went up there and he gave a very inspiring speech to these people about how we get manure for them and so on, and how it is helpful to get this and that and right there. And I remember at the end of the come out, a fellow came out. I thought it was a very successful. A fellow came out and said, Mr. Ramsey, yeah, I love that speech you gave, but you could get two bags of manure for me by myself. That was the attitude of these fellows at first, very skeptical, but after time they fall in. And then they rush to get associated with this sugar industry. Our credit union also assisted the fishermen. We also had, I think it was Bayfield Fishing Co-op. That facilitated the fishermen because we were able to get a fishing tank to distribute the diesel. Previous to that, those people would have to walk someplace where a diesel station was and walk back with it on the head or on the bicycle or the car if they had one and things. But we were able to get the same plantation to put up a tank for us in the fishing co-op where people could just go and draw the diesel. We had one at Concert and one at Skeets Bay and one at Concert. We did that and thing. And so we focused on the fishermen and the agricultural people. Our credit union helped to assist with those kind of things. And we were able to. We also had a buying club. That's interesting. Our credit union had a buying club on it. Strange enough, some people that were not in the credit union were in the buying club. We used to buy bulk food, rice, sardines, meat, all those we bought a lot. And this, we used up at the Weatherburns and Bayfield was our base. We would buy them every week and sell them to our members at we bought them at wholesale price, but we'd be able to distribute them to our members at a lower price. We had scales and things. Some of the people that were in it weren't even the members, but they liked the thing. And sometimes you could sense that they were getting somebody that belonged to the thing to buy some for them. But then we allowed them to come in, because the more we had, the cheaper we were able to get it. So that was interesting. All those things were a spin-off from the credit union of which I speak. You still uncomfortable?
I'm very comfortable. Continue. You actually put a new twist to this. I did not know of all of these things, so that's why I'm allowing you to talk, Dad.
We didn't know.
Everything you said. So tell
you
me
know
something.
that I'm old, though?
Tell me something. You're not old, Dad.
Only 92 years.
Only 92 years.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, keep on then.
Tell me something else that I don't know.
That the experience, as I said, as we have nowadays, I couldn't speak to the new credit union movement because it is so different. I said not long ago, we had about 7 credit unions in that moment, just a few more. And nearly everybody knew everybody else. Everybody would call each other brother. We would go to church at different churches. We would keep meetings. Every week we have a meeting, you know, and educate. We bring in people, economists and those people to speak and so on. And so we lived like that, educate. Today, the credit union movement is different. First of all, let me tell you about credit union in a respect. We had 2 types of credit unions, generally speaking. Industrial credit union and community credit union. Like St. Mark's, you had to live within a certain area to be a member of St. Mark's Credit Union. The boundaries were there. From there to there, if you don't live there, you can't join that credit union. It's different now. You can live anywhere. People in the new credit union, I'm not criticizing it, it might be better than what we had. But people in the new credit union, I know a fellow, he come from overseas, he live in the way about here, but he belonged to the credit union movement. He come, he heard that you're getting dividends at a higher rate than the bank, and he take his money and he put it there. That happens, and in our day, our business was, as I say, I was talking about the different kind of credit union. That was a certain area. We had industrial type credit union where people of the same ilk, like churches, like St. Stephen Credit Union and Shamrock Credit Union, those are associated with churches, and Everton Credit Union, who was a very powerful credit union. They were associated with not an Anglican church, but a Methodist church and the village. That was a kind of dual thing, because that was also associated with Buckley Factory, people that work at Buckley Factory, Kendall. And I tell you something, I just laugh at it, but them fellas seem to, when they belong to the credit union from down there, they seem to last very long, live long. You ever heard about a fellow named Sisnet that lived up? He was a very active member of Everton Credit Union.
James Emmanuel Sisnet.
Died at 114 years.
Yes.
I visited him at 100 when he was 100 and saw him painting in his veranda. That is true. Fitz Brayton, who was just 100, you know him?
Yes.
He's a buddy of mine. Whenever you see me any place, Brother Browne, that's the only name he got. And we talk every now and again. And I don't know if you remember that he drove his car up to the Governor General. He said, "Don't come for me again." He's 101 now, and he's still going to church and reading lessons and giving people a drop. Those people live long in that area. That was a brave credit union, a very good credit union associated. They had limits. You couldn't come from anywhere and just go and join the credit union. That's what happened now. And credit union today is advertised, come and put money upon the credit union and you can draw. As a matter of fact, if they come and get a loan, that's how they do it. But you come and get a loan. Before you know anybody, some of them can't even spell credit union. But come and get a loan, that's what the credit union movement is all about. As I said, I'm not criticizing. It is possible. It is better than the one we knew.
Community members benefited greatly from the work of the credit union movement. Many an interesting story continues to be told of the movement's transformative work throughout communities in Barbados.
Yes, and people, as I said, were able to get small loans to help repair the house, even to buy houses and that type of thing. We were involved in that and helped them to get facilities that would not have been easily, because in those days, in order to borrow money from a bank, you had to have security. In credit union, we didn't need no security. Sometimes if it was big, you would have to have a guarantor. One, the credit union, the other credit union would have the guarantee. If it was small, we never thought about the guarantor or anything. But they were able to get small loans to help repair the houses, to help build houses, help repair the cars if they had one and that type of thing they were able to do. It made life easier for them. And they made it, make it possible for them to reach where they would not otherwise be able to reach. You know, you can, them days you can walk in the bank and say you want to borrow a loan. And they will call the police. But you could come to the, when you were a member of the credit union, you could get a loan from the credit union. And we helped one another. And we never ran out of money. No, people still, it grew in it, started getting big and doing things, and people got confidence in it and all that type of thing. And was able to raise the standard of life for many people. And education. I still think education was the key to that. It is true that credit unions now have millions and billions and them kind of things. We're going to get millions. But I tell my salary was $27.20. I can get money to put on only then $1 or $2 you can get on it. But we weren't interested in it. True, yes, the bigger than us. True. And perhaps a little bit more crooked. But we didn't have the money to build up big sums. And that, you know.
Well, you laid the foundation.
I was very much involved. I had other fellas involved. I was not the boss, but I was very much involved with it. And I don't know.
Well, there is beauty and there is blemish. Not every story is without blemish.
We had police credit union. Police credit union, the secretary went to jail for stealing the credit union money. I think he's the only body on record that went to jail. He was the secretary and borrowed the money and won't pay, not borrowed the money and not paying back. Instead of carrying to the bank, he carried home. And they had a very serious, what they used to call them? Well, auditors. One man, the head of it was a man called Brewster. I tried to avoid them locking him up. Not that I was taking sides, but I believe that it would have been given the credit union movement a bad name, and it would think. And they said, no, he's a policeman. He should have set an example. We're going to lock him up. All we can do for him is to beg the prison to give us a light job in the tailor shop or bread shop. But they insist, and he went to jail. But he's the only body that went to jail for credit union money. But he was a policeman. And a policeman, Bruce said he's a policeman, he should take an example. And they lock him up, give a few years in jail. I think they put him in table shop, help make some clothes or bake some bread or something. But otherwise, credit union people were reasonably honest and so on. And as I said, it was different from now. Now you don't, the credit unions advertise as come and get some money, come and get a loan. That's how they ask you to. You start with a loan. You didn't start with a loan in my day. You had to put in something first before you take out. But now you take out before you put in. You know? And we didn't, most of the work we did in the credit union all over was voluntary. Most of it was voluntary. At the end of the year, and you keep an annual general meeting, you allocate a little sum of money for the secretary who was, if you thought he was working hard and he deserved it. In the annual general meeting, the members got it approved. They're going to give the secretary a few dollars to help out. You get it? You learning? Mm-hmm. What do you want to learn?
What else you want to learn? Well, because Mr. Browne was so keen to share and teach, we will allow him to continue his teaching session next week at the same time on My Community. Thank you very much, Mr. Browne. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. This has been My Community. Every blessing.